Is it worth it to spend a few extra dollars on the solar security cameras by Eufy versus the battery-powered security cameras? Stick around and we'll break it down as easy as possible for you. Now, there are some great battery-powered options out there when it comes to the Eufy security camera brand. Now, keep in mind, we'll post a couple of them here on the side or down in the description section. As well as the solar security cameras, there are some fantastic options in the Eufy security ecosystem, and you can see that right here, or of course, check that down in the description section as well. Keep in mind, folks, I am not sponsored by Eufy. I just share this stuff because it matters to me, and it seems to matter to my audience. So, I was trying to make other videos, but here we are. So let's dive right into it. There's a lot of pros and cons when it comes to owning a battery-operated security camera, and that gives you the convenience of setting it up and putting it in any spot that you want, under a tree, under an awning, under, anything essentially, as long as you can see your specific targeted area that you're trying to keep an eye on. So that in mind, yes, that is a very convenient big plus for these specific cameras. But as somebody that's owned both the solar models and battery models, one thing you'll run into are the issues that come with time. And with time, we have run into some things like the battery life. And that's like the biggest thing I think personally that I've run into with these battery operated options. Yes, they're awesome. Yes, I can set them up literally anywhere I want, indoors, outdoors, under things, you're set. But here's the thing. I went from having a battery operated camera that could only, could go for a couple of months without needing to be charged to maybe a couple of weeks now before it needs to be charged again. Now, keep in mind, results may vary because of situations. Now, what does that mean? It depends on the scenario or the frequency of traffic going by the cameras. Essentially, if there's a lot of stuff flying back and forth in front of that camera and you have your settings set to capture everything, you should expect your camera to deplete a lot quicker because of the fact that it's notifying you more often, it's saving more footage more often, taking pictures more often. It's just what to expect out of it. So you can't expect the full battery capacity to be the same every single time. But that is not an excuse for what we're running into right now. Our traffic's pretty consistent. The spot that we have it in has been pretty consistent, and we have seen a massive decline over a year of the battery capacity itself. So it used to be able to hold, like I said, a few months. Now we're seeing only a few weeks. But that is my main take on the battery related options. I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet for you so that we can get you moving on to your decision making. Next on up is the solar powered options. Typically, they cost a few dollars more because of the convenience and because of the fact that it's got, well, a few more pieces inside of it compared to its battery operated options. Now, everything that is good and positive about the battery options, you will find inside of the solar options. The solar options are literally a copy, a clone of the battery options, but now it's been given some extra features, and sometimes it might even get an extra bonus like AI built into it or some other feature. But keep in mind, when it comes to the video quality, compression, and all that other stuff, it's going to be fairly similar. The one big positive you get, though, is the battery life, because of the fact that you can set it and forget it. Literally put it in any spot that gets exposure to at least a few hours of sunlight a day, and you will have yourself a battery that just keeps on going and a unit that you practically never have to touch. At least in my case, I've moved it twice, not once have I actually physically plugged in a power cord to charge that unit. So I mean, that's a pretty huge win, at least for me. But there are some cons with time, and pretty much the polar opposite of some of the pros that I was tooting about with the battery operated version. Obviously, being a solar powered model, you'd want to be exposed to the sun as often or as conveniently as possible. And that's where I think, you start seeing the pros of the battery versus the pros of the solar models. And I hate to make it seem so simple and straightforward, but a lot of times that's how easy it really is. You're really looking into at least 2 or 3 differences when it comes to what's built inside of these units. And for me personally, I have the S220. I've loved it. We've set it up. We forgot about it essentially and just left it where it's at, and it still gives me notifications as often and as frequent as I'd like it to. Now keep in mind there are bigger models that have a much more powerful sensor, especially infrared sensor. There's also models that have color night vision, and that is some benefits with looking into the newer models. Again, you'll find all those things down in the description section compared to some of the older models or the S220 itself. But it does everything that I need, real simple. Just need to keep an eye on the chickens or the side doors, wherever it's going to be at. So I'm not setting it up in such a broad area where it needs to cover so much space. I just needed to cover this one little spot and keep an eye on this specific pathway. And I think that's where a lot of other people kind of get confused and try to, stump themselves on whether or not they should get a specific camera. Eufy is definitely the camera made for convenience and made for ease of use. It's made for not having to pay for any extra subscription fees. So it's made for the convenient user. That's the best way I can put it. But if you're somebody that needs something a little bit more like timely, just super fast, like notifications are instantaneous, high, super clean resolution, not grainy whatsoever, you're going to want to consider some alternatives with other brands like Blink. Blink does offer a pretty decent security camera. We actually reviewed, you can check it out in our watch section, either here or in the description section, where I reviewed a bunch of different Blink cameras. The Blink Outdoor 4 by far was my favorite security camera because of the fact of how fast it was, how clear the footage was, and had nighttime, daytime, night vision, color vision, all the stuff. Spotlight, I think, even as well. It's a fantastic option. We got it in the 4-pack. It was a great camera. Again, not sponsored. Well, anyway, it's just my personal experience with the camera itself. In comparison to the Eufy cameras. Again, Eufy, great brand, love it. We still use it because of the fact that there's no subscription and it gets us the quality we need and the whatever we need for us personally. Consider it in your mind. If it's something that you really don't care about, where you're setting it up, you don't need to care about, definitely check out the Eufys. Great product. At the end of the day, it's just the way that we've used it. So battery versus solar, I personally think at the end of the day, solar is going to be better versus battery. Pros and cons. Weigh them yourself. Thanks for checking out the video. Feel free to check out the description section where I've got all the details down there, and I appreciate you hanging around to the end. Subscribe. Check out this one over here.